Welcome to Thoughtful Planning, the place where real conversation, expert insight, and a touch of humor meet to turn our end-of-life uncertainties into self-assurance. I'm your co-host, Santiago, a history buff and a big kid at heart.
And I'm Honey, your guide through the intricate dance of planning with care and a whole lot of warmth. Every week, we're here to turn those intimidating "are we ready" moments into confident "everything is under control" moments. Today's journey is one you won't want to miss. Hi, welcome to Thoughtful Planning. I'm Honey.
And I'm Santiago.
Today, we have a special guest with us. I first learned about her through a military spouse virtual group called AMSI, which stands for the Association of Military Spouse Entrepreneurs. In that group, I frequently saw posts about Pink Warrior Angels, which is a nonprofit dedicated to helping people fighting cancer.
I remember Honey telling me about the incredible work that our guest was doing through the Pink Warrior Angels. After hearing her enthusiasm, we decided to make a donation to support their cause. Me being a cancer survivor, we like to help out where we can. So before we get too deep, I want to pose our essential question for today. Our essential question is, how important is outside support outside of your family? And what are some ways that you as an individual can help support others in need?
Great question, babe. All right. So shortly after our donation, I received a heartfelt phone call from our guest today expressing her gratitude. I was actually surprised that you called me. It was really sweet. It was such a touching moment. So without further ado, we'd like to welcome our guest, Julie Moser. Julie, thank you for joining us today. Could you
Thank
please
you guys.
introduce yourself to?
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
you're
you guys so
welcome.
much for having me. I am excited to be here. I am all about an opportunity that we can help another family that's going through cancer treatment.
Awesome. So, can you share the story behind the founding of Pink Warrior Angels and what inspired you to start this nonprofit?
I am a two-time breast cancer survivor, and I was diagnosed at the young age of 39. And as an active duty family, we found that there were not a lot of resources because we did not meet the requirements of a poverty threshold that the government maintains to be able to get, say, food stamps or free lunches at school, or even just help with some of your bills. And the different programs that are with active duty families, we also didn't qualify for those. When we were going through treatment, when I was going through treatment, we found the need of, support. The support that we needed was to supplement my entire income that was now gone. So being a two-income family, now going down to one, it became a financial burden and what I like to call financial toxicity that happens because one, I'm a type of person that we help others. We generally don't know how to ask for help. It's what we do as a family. With many deployments and separations that happen with military families, we have learned how to help others through this process. With the financial strain that we had, the two young girls that we had, we wanted to make sure that they had continuity in their lives. So my dad paid my mortgage, my mom paid for the stuff for the girls, my brother paid for our cell phones because we just needed an extra set of help, financial help to be able to stay focused and not worry about finances, when I'm going through the worst treatment of your life of chemotherapy, the sickness, the residual effects that continue to happen and trying to maintain a household at the same time. Because as of any military fashion, my husband was deployed when I was diagnosed. And him coming back, we reference me as household six, that takes care of business while our soldier is gone. And now the roles were reversed on top of a cancer diagnosis and not knowing how we were going to survive and get through this. once we were done with treatments and all the things, I found the need that we need to help our community. We need to bridge that gap. Even though we have amazing health insurance, it doesn't mean that we didn't need help, you know, to be able to figure out, navigate. You're being thrown so many different things at you. So I started Pink Warrior Angels to help bridge that gap and offer financial assistance, and or support services like getting your grass cut, babysitting, picking up the kids, taking care of the dogs. Like there's just other tangible items that you need help with besides money as well. So we wanted to make sure that we have the resources to help those who might be in that middle class section. And we give it on a case by case basis, not income based. And that's what makes us different. And since we started in 2015, we have found the need to open it up to all cancers. And especially in the military community, there's a lot of different families that come and go. And we found the need that we needed to help with anybody who's going through any type of cancer diagnosis.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That,
It
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that people forget sometimes that when we're stationed far away from our family unit, you know, getting that support is hard. I was fortunate, you know, because I'd retired and we moved back to the San Antonio area. We both had, you know, employment, our jobs really helped us out. You know, my employer at the time, you know, they said, take your time, do what you need to do, work remotely before remotely was a thing.
right.
And then Honey, you know, they just let her do her job. But I couldn't imagine, you know, one of us not getting that income because that would have hurt us severely.
Mhm.
Right.
Um, so, can you share a particularly memorable or impactful story from your organization on how you've helped someone?
You know, there's a couple of different ones. The one that sticks out the most to me, of course, involves a young lady who was 16 and had a lot of bone pain, and her name was Savannah. And with Savannah, veteran family, they newly retired, going through some family dynamic things. Somebody had asked me to reach out to this family, of this young lady who was just diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma, which is a bone cancer. And what we had found was this family was in a transitional phase. Like your career is military, and with that big change of retiring, there's a lot of processes that have to happen. It's a big change from your career ending to what am I going to do now, whether you get another job lined up or go back to school or however. And this family was feeling that. And now they were just told their 16-year-old has this bone cancer. And not only that, it had spread throughout her body. So they had young ones also at home and trying to navigate making sure someone picks up the kiddos, while one parent would try to be with her at all times, her going through chemo. We had put a call out. We were realizing things were just not getting better. And like, well, what is something that you would like to do? Because Make a Wish for kids is definitely there. And one of her things was to go to Paris. Well, obviously, we couldn't do that for her. Doctor wouldn't let her go. And I said, well, what else is it that we can do to help support you? And, you know, she loves Christmas lights, Christmas decorations outside. And we weren't quite at Christmas yet, but they weren't sure she was going to make it to Christmas. So I put a call out because, of course, my husband is yet up deployed once again. I'm still learning how to balance on 2 feet, doing my things, and staying within my health limits. Said, hey guys, I need some help with decorating this 2-story home with Christmas lights. I have all the Christmas lights that's been given to us. Let's make a Christmas magical night for this young lady. Not only did people show up, people from everywhere showed up. We ended up hitting national news, which totally blew me away. But a company came and put all the lights on the house. And then the school got involved, and the choir came, and the band kids came, and they played Christmas carols. And then there was a gentleman that started a snowmaking business, which was like a foam snowy thing. But he came and set all his stuff up, and it shoots out this foam. So not only did she get to be outside and experience this magic, this Christmas magic, the whole community came. That the police had to come and help guide people to make sure we weren't blocking houses because the neighborhood she was in. And it was then that I knew asking for help was the right thing, because I don't need to be on a ladder. Not sure how I was going to get lights on a 2-story house, but it was all she wanted was something simple. And I'm like, we can do that. It's simple as wonderful. We can do that. And the community came together, and it was just phenomenal. And the love and tears and emotions that came behind it, I know was such a memorable moment for her, that I started focusing on every moment as a memory and trying to make more memories, not only with my own family, but everybody that I encountered. It's like, well, what do you need? Well, money's nice and helps with things, but we need to have consistent memories. So when or if that person should pass, you have wonderful, happy memories and not sick and ill memories. And that was one of our memorable moments of being able to offer that for the first time, as simple as it was, that we've done that several times since then. And I'm so grateful that we have kind of shifted some focus on that.
Yeah, you about had me in tears here. um
Shock.
So I have a question then. It's related to what you just talked about. It sounds like the question is, how can someone get help from your nonprofit? And if I heard you right, someone literally just knew a friend and then reached out to you, and
If
that's
you,
literally
yeah,
how easy it was. But
it really is. With social media nowadays, it's very easy to find us and or me. If you can imagine, my personal box is very full, and that I almost wish I had
I
somebody to
bet.
monitor my own personal social media boxes, because there are people that said,
Mm-hmm.
hey, so and so gave me your information. They didn't have your personal cell phone, but I found you on Facebook, which I'm grateful for, because it was allowed us to connect and be able to find out what their need is. So everybody's journey is different, everybody's story is different, and not everybody needs money. Not everybody needs health. Their health care might be good and their finances are great, but they just really need someone to come cut the grass and they just or clean the house. And we have partnered with many different other businesses, that if we need somebody here in Central Texas to clean a home, we have a partnership with a company that will take care of that for us, and they're licensed and bonded, and I know they're legit and will do a good job. It's those kinds of resources that come to us through social media, whether it's a company or a friend of a friend that needs to connect with us, to find us just by a simple internet search as well. We've been working hard on making sure keywords are there, so not just breast cancer, but that there is financial assistance and help for those that just need tangible hope, is what I also like to call it.
I remember our FRG doing a lot just when, babies were born,
Yeah.
or a death in the family, dinners, cleaning house, helping with kids. This is, such a cool organization.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild.
Wait, you said the word FRG,
Oh,
and then so
yeah.
for some of the listeners, um, we are, my husband's retired Army. FRG is Family Readiness Group, or it was Family Support Group. I honestly don't know what it might be called now. Maybe Julie, you probably know, because your spouse is still active duty.
Yes. And so they still call it the same, the Family Readiness Group, which is
Okay.
really nice, because it is those that are not deployed and in the rear that can help support one another should there be a car breakdown, or you can't get to appointment A or B and stuff like that. So they really do rally and come together. And it's the same concept for sure.
Yeah, but on a much grander scale, and I think it's the Christmas story is freaking awesome.
Yeah,
Yes, very
it's
much.
So
it's very emotional for a lot of things that we do, and sometimes I get taken aback by it, and I'm grateful that my journey through the horrible cancerness, if you will, has led me to be what I'm supposed to be doing, which is helping others navigate through their journey.
That's
kind
really
of what
cool.
we're doing right now, relearning lessons and then trying to figure out while we're clear of mind what we need to do to ensure that we're ready in case,
Yes.
God forbid, I go through a second bout of cancer or something like that, or Honey gets ill, or something just magically happens to both of us. We're know we're going to be prepared. So, sticking on the emotional support stuff, how important is, in your opinion, emotional support in the cancer journey in particular? And what role can the Pink Warrior Angels play in providing that additional emotional support?
So emotional support is so important. Like I said earlier, I'm household six. I'm the first one in the FRG that goes to help somebody. I'm the first one to go help bring a meal because that's just my nature of a giving heart. But not everybody's that way. But then sometimes I don't know what help it is that I need or how to ask for help. So, on the emotional and mental side of a cancer journey, it is very taxing. I recently had to take a whole month off of social media, everything, and focus on me because of some recent deaths. But I had to acknowledge it and be in my emotion for where I was at in my journey, even though I just lost a friend. You know, the emotional support is not to say, oh, they're there, everything's going to be okay. It is, oh my gosh, you're right. This is awful. And I'm scared for you too. And you're right. It's not great, but acknowledging their emotions and validating their emotions, whether death is near or it's a brand new cancer diagnosis and things are okay, but it's valid. They're scared. Those emotions are very true and very valid. And to acknowledge them, we have a Warrior Angel program where we take somebody who's been through it and match them up with somebody who's just starting, because we have so many questions and so many things that we just don't even remember the doctors told us, but that they can support one another through text or phone calls. I have learned to stop giving out my personal number so much because I would be sometimes just not sleeping at night, and I'll answer people back because I am awake. And even that is important, to be able to acknowledge that they're just not having a great night and they want to be strong for their family and not feel emotionally weak and scared. They're still trying to put on their brave face, right? But to just take a step and say, your emotions are valid and this sucks. And we're going to figure out how to get through it together at that point. And sometimes just the acknowledgement is what is needed, because sometimes we don't know what we need when we need it. And sometimes the other person who might be watching or listening or got that text, random text in the night, has a clearer thinking mind that they can figure out how to help, and maybe send a Whataburger gift card to help feed the family one night, you know?
I didn't know how taxing it was. I felt it, going through my stuff. And uh, a dear friend of mine at my last job, she got cancer, and uh, I helped her, mentor her and told her that she should be a mean wet hornet and just attack it. But the one thing that I forgot about was the toll on her. And, listening later, or she would tell me stories about me being asleep when she was driving me to the hospital at 6 o'clock in the morning, and her showing her emotions on the drive, or in the shower where I couldn't hear her,
Yes.
I think that that's important for you to provide that help to those that take over the six duties, when household six goes down.
Right. And it is our co-survivors. It took me a long time to really recognize our co-survivors, meaning my husband and my kids, for what they were going through, because they were putting also on the brave face, to muddle through those things, like you said, their emotions as well. So I really wanted to work hard, and I'm kind of muddling through it right now, a co-survivor support system as well, because PTSD is real. The ugliness of cancer is real and takes a toll on your families, whether they're your primary caregiver or even the friend that lives next door that comes over every so often. It's exhausting and mentally um, draining for them as well.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it is.
Um, so I have a question about how can individuals and communities get involved in supporting Pink Warrior Angels? I was just saying, I heard you mention businesses earlier that might be able to help, but yeah, individuals or your community.
Yeah. Yeah. So anybody, like I tell people all the time, we have an elderly grandmother, I call her. She sends us $5 a month from her Social Security check. And she always says, I'm so sorry I can't give anymore. I'm like, your $5 helps so much. And the fact that you give it from your Social Security check means the world to us. So whether somebody's able to donate 5, 10, $100, however it may be, some people are able, and or businesses, especially small businesses starting out, and I love supporting small businesses, is being able to offer services like house cleaning, cutting the grass, cleaning the pool. We have a pool and we didn't know what to do with it, and or we didn't have time to learn how to do it. And my neighbor had somebody come and balance us out every week, and it was one less thing we had to worry about. So whether it is volunteering, helping us create chemo care kits, volunteering to help us plan Runway of Hope, um, volunteering to just write out cards and mail them to a list of people that I try to make sure that we're consistently sending love mail in the actual mail, instead of an email or a text, is to send something in the mail. Because all we get is junk mail nowadays, or a bill, and those are no fun. But I love cards personally, and so for a volunteer to sit out and write some notes and words of encouragement, and we can even reimburse them back for the stamps if they like, for someone to sit down and do that is a huge deal. Someone who is doing a fundraiser in their community and we are the beneficiary is a big deal. We like to go out to those community and support while they're doing these things. So we have some businesses that will donate once a year a bunch of blankets. They do a blanket drive. And so, and I say, please don't make them all pink because we have men too, but they donate blankets to us, or fuzzy socks with the little grippy things on the bottom. We try to make sure if it's chapstick or lotion, then
They're
it's
my
just
favorite.
very, yeah, the fuzzy socks, they're fun, right? Like we need some fun things in our lives. Or just the kids making little cards at school. We've had a Bible school it was the summer Bible school programs. We have a local church that their kids will do stuff like that, and there's stickers, and these kids probably can't even write because they're usually drawings. And I stick them in the mail to different packages or chemo care kits. I'll stick them in there because every little bit helps, and it doesn't have to be money. And even if somebody has a skill to be an accountant and help us get our books straight, that is a huge service to us, even that we're able to make sure things are straight so we can continue focusing on our mission and going ahead and continuing to help families.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
What is a chemo care kit?
Our chemo care kits are things that I found that I didn't know I needed. Mary Lee Considine was a 2013 Fort Hood Spouse of the Year, and she was asked, let's see, how did it go? It's somebody my husband worked with in medevac. I think he was the pilot, so he had found out about us. So he went and asked his wife to contact Mary Lee, who then showed up at my house, because that's what we do, right? With a basket full of things and says, you don't know that you need these now, but these are my favorite items that you will eventually need. And it came with a journal. It came with hand sanitizer. It came with non-scented lotions and lip balms, puzzle books, and fuzzy socks with little grippers on them. A beautiful bookmark specific to being a warrior. And I'm not a big reader, but I ended up using it in my journal as my page holders. And, it has also, what are those lemon heads? The big hard lemon candy. Because when you're going through chemo, you get a very metallic taste. It feels like you're chewing on aluminum foil. And to be able to help get some of that taste out, and or the peppermint, the peppermint oil that we need to help rub on your stomach because you're so nauseous, but you just can't take anything in. But peppermint, the smell of peppermint, helps with nausea. I didn't know that. Or the pink salt that we put in there also to help rinse out your mouth with a wash with warm salty water, because you end up getting mouth sores and or thrush like a baby, and to help kind of navigate through some of those things that happen from chemo. So our kits vary a little bit from time to time, or if somebody needs headgear because they've lost their hair, we can send that as well. But we try to keep all of our chemo care kits in stock and assembly line done. Cancer Survivor Day is coming up this weekend. And so we're taking 50 chemo care kits to the cancer center here locally as we celebrate survivors, and we'll get to visit with those that are in treatment that day. And then we leave the rest there so they can hand them out to somebody who might need those. We do it twice a year for Cancer Survivor Day in June. And then we also do it for Giving Tuesday Military, which is in November of every year. So we go to a different cancer center and do that as well. So sometimes just having those stocked up at the centers helps be able to get our information out and give that person who might be newly diagnosed some love.
Yeah, I know that you also do some events throughout the year to help, raise funds for what you're doing. You mentioned one earlier, the Runway of Hope, and then the 5Ks that you run throughout the country. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Yeah, so Runway of Hope came about because I, as a cancer survivor, got invited to help launch my friend's brand new business 10 years ago called Ana Ono. And she is a breast cancer survivor as well. And she, at that time, I also had implants from reconstruction. And we found when you have implants after a double mastectomy, bras don't fit. And so you shouldn't have to wear medical grade items, that you still can wear sexy or lacy or fun things to still feel like a female, right? So I went. I was like, okay, I'll come to New York, no problem. The energy that happened there was phenomenal. The empowerment, the emotions that came with it. I would have never done that pre-cancer, by the way. But to be able to be surrounded by the same like her people and be able to showcase these items to the end of a runway where there's paparazzi, literally hundreds of cameras at the end taking your pictures. And I was there to help support her because she didn't have nobody to help her. I'm like, I'll come. And now I wanted to bring that to Texas as well. So those who might not be able to go, they still do it at New York in February of every year. And so I wanted to have that experience here in Texas. And we have gotten lucky to partner with a wedding venue that gives us the whole ranch now. So we started out small at a convention center and have moved to an entire ranch in Waco, Texas, that we now have added a retreat portion to that because the ranch can house all of us. And we go through all these classes and empowerment sessions and so on and so forth. That leads up to our gala Runway of Hope, and they get to strut on the runway. The other thing that we do, we're coming into our 10th anniversary of the 5K, which is the Pink Warrior Dash. We've tried changing the name 900 times, but it always comes back as people knows it's the Pink Warrior Dash. And now we have a subchapter in San Antonio, so they also have a run. And during COVID, like we all learned together how to make things virtual. So now everything is hybrid that we do because if you're not here in Copperas Cove, Texas to do the Pink Warrior Dash, you can do it virtually with us. We'll send you the shirt, the medal, the everything. You get all the same things. We send it to you, hopefully beforehand. Sometimes it's after, but that you put it on and send us some photos and tell us why you're walking and who are you walking for. And it's a fundraiser. The other thing that we do here in Central Texas is we have a lot of small town community support that Home Base Lumber is now a partner of ours for the last 5 years. We have a big pink block party at a lumber store. Who would have knew how fun it is to have this big party at a lumber store, and our local cheerleaders, dancers. The band's usually in competition season, but they try to send a couple people. But we have, younger dance teams that come out. It's like really look forward to like on the city's calendar of what it is that we do, and have a big party and come learn. And we have nice raffle baskets twice a year, and that's one of them. And then if you purchase anything in the store throughout the month of October, you can round up your change and they donate it back to us. So you know that the funds are coming back to a good organization that does give back in financial assistance help, and in items and tangible other services. But our San Antonio chapter is growing, and to take on a chapter is a lot. So I would love to see chapters everywhere, but it has to take a special person to be able to do so, whether it's in Kansas or Florida or in Oklahoma. It's okay. It's just we want to be able to be the organization during Pink Month, the month of October, because pink washing was really, really bad years ago. And what that means is a business using the color pink to sell something to make money, and they're not necessarily donating it. And it's gotten way better over the years, for sure. But make sure you know where your funds are going during the month of October or during Pediatric Cancer Month. Do the research. It's imperative to do the research. I didn't know either. The big pink companies were not available to help me when I reached out thinking I could get help. And that's the piece that it's misconceived. And so the big events that we do is to not only help fund our programs, but we also get grants at other places. Even the Fort Cavazos Spouses Club gave us mortgage payments for 5 people here in the Central Texas area. So
Wow.
I'm appreciative of that. That just happened a month ago, and I was so grateful because, when Walmart started helping us, they would give us a $25 gift card and we go buy something, right? They gave us over $12,000 this past quarter, and we had a big check presentation, and it's almost unheard of. There was 11 stores that I applied for all their grants, and they all agreed, and we were able to make they were able to make one of the biggest donations in Central Texas to our organization recently. And their belief in us and community events that we do at their stores, or they have their employees that might need some assistance and help. It's growing. It's growing. So we're always busy. Definitely always busy. I encourage people
Wow.
who may want to do something, say they have a small business or direct sales business even, and they want to do something, we're always appreciative to be on the receiving end, and we would love to support small businesses in that aspect too.
Wow. That's really cool that I mean, it's your heart that goes out and gets
Yeah.
these donations and asks, you know, and I know I'm sure it's not easy, right? You got to write up the paperwork.
I 100% did not like to ever ask for anything. I learned. I'm told no all the time, don't get me wrong, but I always come back and say, okay, well, what is it that you might be able to help with? And that's how sometimes we get items, like a bunch of chapstick or something. But
Yeah.
the consistency of your ask, consistently telling your stories, all the paperwork that needs to be done. Prior to cancer, I had a career in civil service for over 14 years as a federal employee, and I worked with generals and colonels, and I was their administrative officer. So that's kind of pretty much how I run the organization as well, because if anybody knows anything about military, it is all about the paperwork and making sure you're documenting and make sure there's a policy in place to make sure that the document is correct. So we do the same thing to make sure we have everything dress for not only our donors, but that we can share and tell everybody, thank you so much for helping us. Look what you help us do this year. Because that's important. People want to know where their money went.
Right. That's awesome.
I have one more question real quick before we get to the next question. I just want to clarify one thing. This organization does not just support military, correct?
Correct. Yes. We support anybody that is in active treatment for the financial portion. And the other support could be after treatments, especially breast cancer survivors. They kind of go through a lot more if they have a double mastectomy, and it's not one and done. It is years long of stuff. We do help anybody if they're active duty and say live overseas. 9 times out of 10 they'll be sent back to the United States. But if you think about it, with the military community, they might help volunteer, do all the things, but then they move, and now they're stationed in Oklahoma or Kansas or Washington D.C. They're able to say, hey, there's an organization out of Texas that helps nationally as well. So you just have to be a legal U.S. resident. That's the only requirement.
Yeah, I just wanted, because we had talked a lot about being in the military, support groups and all that other stuff. I just want to make sure our listeners
Yeah.
understood, not
Yeah.
just to support military, it's to support cancer survivors, cancer people that are going through the treatments. And that's rough,
Yes.
especially when you're, like you were talking about the unscented stuff. Man, I hated the smells. That was one of the things
Yeah.
that
Who knew?
bananas. Yeah,
Yeah. That was tough.
it was tough.
Don't send flowers. Do you know how many flowers I received? And my husband would have to take them outside. I couldn't stand them in the house because I could smell them through the air vents.
Wow.
Or sometimes cooking food.
Yeah.
So I didn't know any of that. So I try to help educate people who want to help and support their friend. Is like, well, cook the food and then bring it. Make sure things, are not too spicy, or don't send flowers because they sometimes can't tolerate those smells.
Yeah.
And while it's a great gesture, it's like, use the money for something else besides give them flowers later.
Exactly.
Flowers are nice. Everybody should get flowers, but not while you're in treatment. And it's the worst smell ever because the chemicals change in your brain and in your body. And it's just what was your favorite before is not your favorite any longer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when it comes to planning for end of life or life's unexpected surprises, what advice do you have?
This, I said it earlier, we're always, maybe it was to y'all, I'm not sure. I talked to somebody earlier. Military families are usually prepared for their soldier if something happens to them. We don't think about us at home. And it's the same thing with cancer. Like, you don't know unless you've been through it how to even remotely be prepared. My mother, who was diagnosed in 2020 with metastatic breast cancer and chose no treatment, having to respect that of my mother was hard. but her husband had died 5 years prior to, and all her affairs were in order. It was the easiest, simplest thing. And I'm like, man, I need to do this. And since then, I have been intimately involved with a few families at end of life, knowing that it's coming, to help prepare. So while you think you're prepared, you're not prepared. So whether you're the single mom and you have a home and you need to figure out how to make your kids the beneficiary, is it good to have the kids as a beneficiary, or is it good to set up a trust? Is it who's going to be able to sell the house or sell the car or make your medical decisions for you? And are you in denial of this? Is your family in denial that you're going to get better? You're going to get better. And the hardest part for me, and specifically with this family recently that I have dealt with, is everybody was still so hopeful, which you never want to take away hope, ever. You want a God-given miracle. Everybody does. But what I was seeing was she was dying. And I said, hey, set up an appointment with the lawyer. And she was in the hospital. She couldn't go to the lawyer, so we did a 3-way phone call. And then they did some special swearing of documents and so on and so forth while she was in the hospital. And when it came time to, the medical directives had to be put into place to a month later of her passing, there's still things in that gray area that weren't quite covered that they're still having to navigate. So everybody knows about a will, I would hope. But who gets to make the decisions for you should you not be able to handle that? Who's going to take care of your kids? Who's going to take care of your dogs? Where are the dogs going to go? And those are sometimes we forget about those things because we're so focused on a cure or getting healthy or that miracle that I sometimes will interject myself and say, hey, what kind of funeral do you want? Do you want to be cremated? Like, do you want a whole thing? Like, because my mom didn't want anything. I already knew dress right dress everything of what my mom wanted and didn't want. My mother, being Korean, also being one of the elder of her family, did not tell her siblings she was dying until I called them and said, you need to come say your goodbyes. And they're like, wait, what? It was a cultural thing. And so even cultures that are different than what you and I might have also put a big factor into a lot of things, right? And I didn't realize that until my mom was dying and she'd written them a letter and it was all in Korean. So I Googled Translate with my phone with the image because I didn't know what it was. And it was a letter to her siblings that I did not know she had written. And so glad she had, because all her affairs were in order legally, that she didn't tell her family, and they didn't understand why we were being mean and not taking her to the hospital. So, but those were her wishes. And for them to understand was what saved us, was that letter, a simple letter. So being able to have that hard conversation now, as you said earlier, while everything is okay, have those hard conversations now because your mind is clear. You're not in a fight or flight mode. You're not panicking or emotional or making rash decisions, especially with this particular person as a single mom. There's a dad there, an ex-husband that at some point it all comes into play. And, they may or may not want the dad involved with the kids. You don't know the circumstances, but if there's things not legally done, there's nothing you can do in a court of law. So being able to have your wishes known, documents drawn up, it's imperative, whether you're dying or not. It needs to be that, I just turned 50. I plan on living 50 more years. I want to be 100. I've always said it since I was little, but I've had cancer twice. Like, what the heck's happening? But I plan on living 50 more years. And I've already told all my children everything that I want, but I have also everything in writing. And to make sure that it says the legal jargon says what I say in my non-legal jargon, right? Because there's a lot of legal words versus what I think I want, right? So to have that professional help you is imperative, and better guidance from them. But the very minimum, talk to your family, have that conversation, and then go see the lawyer. It's a hard conversation to start.
Well, wait, I wanted to say happy birthday. That's all.
Happy birthday.
Happy 50th.
Thank you. Yes. I celebrated the whole month of May.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I did. I got like 2 more days. Tomorrow's the last day of the month. I have this big post I'm going to do. But I celebrated me the whole month of May, even through my grief that happened, unfortunately, with 4 good friends dying within 10 days of each other. It was a lot for me. But I had to remember that I was celebrating them too. And then just took time for myself as needed, and to continue to help advocate for the dog that doesn't have a place to go when you die. Like, it's important. Some people don't think about that. Who's going to take the dog? Is your brother really going to take the dog? You know, I would hope somebody would take my 4 dogs. Somebody's got to, you know? So that can be put into your documents as well. Or maybe you leave a trust for your dogs and that this is funded for your animals, you know?
Exactly. So,
it's imperative.
I just want to say thanks, Julie, for everything you're doing, your insight, your love. You're truly inspiring. The work that you're doing to support those in need, as they fight for their lives, really, you don't really truly understand until you're there and you're fighting for your life, We're going to continue to support. My cadets will be out there here in a couple more months to help with the 5K in San Antonio.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry I missed the event in February, but the circumstances with my partner going down. Hopefully I can be there for the next one.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take something on. Honey hates when I take something on. If you need a mentor for men, I'm always here for you, especially those that are going to fight.
Yes. And because men don't talk about their feelings, and men don't share as much as females do, especially military ones. But it is a cultural thing. It is a society thing that men keep it all in and keep moving on. And I have broken some of those barriers with other men. And I don't know if it was because it was me or what it was, but the men need the help too. And I've been really trying to work with some other organizations that are men only also, because sometimes they just need the other guy that gets it and understands. That, you know what, I understand, and we will take care of, you'll get to take care of your family again. You will get through this, or you're having a crappy day. It's okay. But it's all right. And I appreciate that, because there's not enough of that for the men's side, for sure.
You've got my number. You know how to get a hold of me.
All right. So, Julie, again, thank you so much for your time today. We really, truly appreciate it. And then to our listeners, remember to think about how you can make a difference in the lives of those in need, whether through the Pink Warrior Angels or in your own community. So Julie, will you share with our listeners how they can connect with you? And is there anything else you'd like to share before we end?
Well, we have a motto of give more, help more, and share more. And it's something I instill into my children as well. To be kind, to give help where you can, to share resources with others, to be able to help somebody in their time of need, to lift them up, not necessarily a hand up. And it doesn't have to cost a penny to do so. You can find us through the internet. We have a website. It's exactly pinkwarriorangels.org. and all of our social handles are the same. You may see something that says Pinkware Angels of Texas. We have both of those domains and or social channels as well. I mean, the great state of Texas is pretty darn big, so that's covering a lot already. But we are working throughout the United States. We have partners in Hawaii even. I'm still trying to work on more trips down that way. But, even the people in Hawaii love us. And even though they're,
I'll help.
yeah, right. They're in not the lower 48, but they're over there by themselves. And even our friends that we have in Alaska that still give out our resources, you can always just look us up by Pinkware Angels, and we will pop up on our YouTube channels, all of our social channels, our TikToks. You might see a little more of my puppies than Pinkware Angel stuff, but I'm still trying to navigate that. But you can always email us at hello@pinkwareangels.org. It's super simple. And, drop us a line and say hello, that you heard about us, how you can support, or how we can support you.
Awesome.
Cool. So as we close, let's do what we always do, and let's think about our essential question. So how important is support outside of your family when you're going through a crisis? And what are some of the ways that you as an individual can help those in need?
It's a great question.
Yep.
Yep.
So until next time, remember every chapter you write today shapes your legacy tomorrow. Thank you for joining us at Thoughtful Planning. And just like the vibrant hues of a setting sun, we're wrapping up another episode of Thoughtful Planning. Every shared story and insight is a step closer to turning uncertainty into celebrations of preparedness.
Absolutely. And to our listeners, remember that every surprise that comes our way is an opportunity to grow, adapt, and learn. Stay tuned for more stories, expert insight, and of course, a touch of wit in our next episode.
We're not just co-hosts, we're fellow travelers on this journey. For more information on additional resources, which will help you take the next step in planning, look for the link in the show notes for our membership. Join us next time for another episode of Thoughtful Planning. Until then, keep living, laughing, and loving every moment.